Hey guys, what's going on? So to win back here with another video. So today we're going to be talking about the Abyss in 1.6. I know a lot of you guys looked at my other video and was like, oh, this isn't the 1.6 Abyss. And yeah, I made a typo. I'm sorry for that. But today we'll be talking about team comps and what types of characters will be good against the new Abyss. Um, so there was a leak, obviously, of the 1.6 Abyss, and here it is. However, it is said to have changed from an NLO hypostasis in floor 12.1 or 2, first half, to system mages and treasure hoarders. So, first of all, looking at the update from Genshin Impact or the patch notes, we can see that the floor 11 Leyline disorder will be changed to swirl damage and buffing it basically, and buffing Animo essentially, most likely for Kazuha. Um, and yeah, and then there's also it also says the monster lineup um, on floors 9, 10, 11, and 12 will be changed. So we don't yet know the leak for, or we don't have the leak for floor 9, um, unfortunately, but it's floor 9, so it won't be that important as the mobs are much easier and are at a lower level. So then we have the phases for the lunar phases for the abyss. Essentially, all of them just buff Swirl and Kazuha and Animo. So make sure you're using your Ventis, Sukoses, Kazuhas, Jeans, all the Animo you have, if it works well with the abyss, which we will see in a second. So beginning with 410, we don't have much information, just that there's going to be an Abyss Herald, a Cryo Abyss Mage, as well as the Abyss Lector and another Cryo Abyss Mage. Just a reminder that the Herald has a Hydro Shield, while the Lector has an Electro Shield. So counters to the Hydro Shield, as most of you already know, are either Cryo, Electro, and potentially Pyro. I haven't really tested that one, but Cryo obviously works the best as you're freezing them while they're spinning so you don't get hit in case you don't have a shield. I used Razor in floor 11 due to the physical buff and it worked quite well. However, in this floor 10, new floor 10 without the physical buff, I don't know how well that's going to work. So my sample team comp, or my team comp, will most likely be Xiao, Chi-Chi, Kaya, and Sucrose, and potentially Xiangling if I don't need that much cryo. I'll do some experimenting, but after all, it is 410, so it's not much of a concern. And essentially, the format is just healer, main DPS, and 2 supports. Just a reminder that it is 410, so mobs aren't that strong. Moving on to the Abyss Lector, again, the counters are Pyro and Cryo. Um, my team comp would most likely be Bennett, Diluc, Zhongli, Jingqiu. And again in the same format. Ganyu isn't. I don't believe Ganyu is that good in terms of breaking the shield. Obviously, she's a very good unit. But I believe Bennett and Diluc or Changling, even all the pyro characters are much better for breaking the shield than Ganyu, as you cannot apply cryo that quickly. Chongyun also has an internal cooldown for applying cryo, and I just found pyro to work the best. Moving on to, continuing on with floor 10, um, there's also a Frost Storm Watchero and a Hydro Abyss Mage, so just make sure you bring your Pyro characters. And I mean, it's floor 10, so it's pretty standard stuff. The changes shouldn't make the floor too hard unless we're extremely time restricted, but we've all dealt with these mobs before. So, moving on to floor 11, we only know about floor 11.3 unfortunately, but here we have the Ruin Guard and Ruin Hunter. Ruin Hunter returning, so make sure you bring your bull characters, as when he flies up into the air that can cost you a lot of time, and the Ruin Guard returning again from the, I don't know, 1.4 Abyss maybe, and 412. So counters to these guys, freeze teams are good, in my opinion. Bull characters obviously. It's your chance to use Venti maybe on this half to break or to shoot their weak spots. Garni is obviously very, very good for this half. For me, I will most likely be running Freeze, Xiao, Team Calm, Chi-Chi, Xiaomon, and Sucrose as you've seen in my past videos. I think a Morgana team would work quite well. And normal team comps also work. Just try to get a bow character in there for the Ruin Hunter, in my opinion. However, physical DPS is obviously not recommended because these guys have very high physical resistance. Moving on to floor 11, chamber 3, second half, we have an Abyss Herald and an Abyss Lector, supposedly. So make sure you save your Pyro for this half, as well as your Cryo, honestly. So you're going to have a mix of the two. I might have to change this to maybe Kaya to apply that Cryo much better. Um, but yeah, this floor might, or this chamber rather, might be quite tough. I plan on using this team comp, but I might change it in the future. An idea is potentially to swirl the Hydro from the Herald and the Electro and the Lector to potentially break the shields, but there'll have to be some testing done, and you're gonna have to try to do your best to get your Pyro and your Cryo on the same team while maintaining your DPS at the same time for this floor or chamber. Floor 12, so we have a lot of information here. In the first chamber, first chamber, we have two promote Geo Bishops, first and second half, supposedly Hydro and Electro, respectively. Um, I think it's not that good to use Geo or Physical as they have high Geo and Physical resistance, but if you have no choice, then it's okay. And I don't really think we should be focusing on these two chambers as you can come and redo them later and you can just focus on later chambers anyway, so team comps don't really matter. Just try to use a shield, and if you don't have one, it's fine. Just put your main DPS on this team and a good healer, and just try your best to kill it before it can kill you, really. And just a reminder that these are the world prop bosses, so the world boss Primogeo Bishop that you see and fight for ascension materials for characters like Yanfei. Moving on to floor 12 second, again, the animal hypothesis was removed, which was, I think, very fortunate for us, as that was quite, that would be something that take quite a long time, as you'd have to collect the crystals and stuff, or things in the air before killing it, and that costs a lot of time. So it supposedly changed the cryo assistant mage and the treasure hoarders. So this is your animal crowd control half. Gene would also work well against the assistant mage. And interestingly enough, you need pyro for chamber 3 anyways, as there's a lector there on this half. So you can deal with the shield quite easily if you don't have Gene or Venti to kick her up into the air. In floor 12 chamber 2 second half, we have a Geo Bishop and a Geo Bishop's hatchling. So these are the guys that are currently in our chamber 1 of floor 12. And these guys are quite annoying. I think a freeze comp would be good again. Otherwise, good luck to you. And shields are good, obviously. Geo's not good. Physical's not good. Just try our best. These guys will take a lot of time because they move around a lot and spin. Just try to put your better team comp in this half, as it's, in my opinion, the harder half in this chamber. Moving on to floor 12, chamber 3. In the first half, we have an Abyss Lector, a Hydro Abyss Mage, and a Pyro Abyss Mage. So make sure you get your Pyro in to break this shield, and if possible, get your Hydro and Cryo in, potentially, or Hydro or Cryo, sorry, to break the Pyro. If not, an idea could be to swirl and break the lectors and mage shields at the same time, potentially, or at least these two. So maybe a Venti this half would be good, and to counter this in the previous chamber as well as this. As in the Noblesse domain, where we have a Hydro, Pyro, and Cryo Abyss Mage, Venti is quite good. So that could be an idea. And the same thing for this half, really. Potentially another swirl. The cryo can break the Abyss Herald shield a little bit, and the Abyss Herald shield can potentially break the Pyro Abyss mages. So, yeah. But I think the main goal is to obviously focus on these two, and breaking their shields is theirs are the strongest, but you have to keep in mind these two. So there'll be a lot of experimentation and team comms, but if you have Venti or Sucrose, it'll be pretty good for swirling the elements, at least in one of the halves. So overall, after looking at all of these, my team comps will most likely be Bennett, Diluc, Zhongli, Xingqiu, and Venti for those who are curious, and my second half will consist of Chi-Chi, Xiao, Sucrose, Mona, and Kaya. So somewhat of a freeze comp here, and then your standard Diluc team here, potentially replacing Xingqiu with Venti to swirl these shields or swirl the Assistant Mage, and potentially adding Kai instead of Mona in order to counter his shield and apply more cryo, as Chi-Chi does not apply that much cryo. So there's a lot of factors to take into consider, but just make sure you keep in mind the shields, and we'll have to see if we're actually able to swirl them by potentially moving around, like in the Noblesse domain where you stand in the corner, all three mages teleport, maybe something like that is possible. Um, Otherwise, it'll just have to be bringing all the elements and trying to make your team comps work and your main DPSs work. And so overall tips, use Venti and Sucrose if you have them built, and use Power over the Abyss Lecter Shield, as I think it's much better than Cryo, but that's just my opinion. And I saw a video online showcasing the Animal MC breaking the Abyss Lecter with the new 1.6 elemental buffs, so we can take a look at it here. So as you can see, it breaks the shield quite quickly as the Tornado picked up Pyro as opposed to Electros. That was quite fortunate. It was able to consistently overload the two shields. And so this could be a potential idea, but keep in mind that the Animal MC takes up one of your team slots and you're left with quite a bad team comp in the end. And one last quick note is um, due to the fact that the Floor 11 Land District is now changing to Animo, potentially or supposedly, this means that there's obviously an Animo debuff, like the Water Hydro debuff, slowing water that we have in the current Floor 11. I think that it might look something like this, which we had in one of the earliest abysses. As you can see, there's a video uploaded by Ambiosity in November of last year. So this is what the Animo aura that enemies or debuff will look like. I didn't even know this till I did some research and looked at these auras, but here's what it may potentially do. So essentially you can see that there was a small venti alt looking orb that appeared, and the animal, I think the animal boxer was just teleporting, but essentially this swirl does a little bit of damage. As you can see, MD can dodge it quite easily. He talks about how to dodge it in this video. I'll link it in the description below, as well as this video. But it shouldn't be too much of a nuisance. Just something else to dodge, like the geo things on the ground. Just keep it in mind, and it shouldn't be that much of a problem. Focus the enemy that has it, obviously, so you don't take any extra damage, and at least it's not as painful as flowing water. So that concludes my video. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope this helps you in when the 1.6 Abyss releases, or the new version of the Abyss releases on June 16th. Thanks for listening.